Truth Speaks. It is provocative, it is thought provoking, it is bold and embodies the very nature of both the human experience and the human condition. All right, folks, welcome to the Truth Speaks podcast, where truth is shared through real conversations with real people. I'm your host, Dee Mosley, and we're broadcasting from YD Creative Studios. Joining us today, y'all, I can't even believe I got him on the sofa. Joining us today is the impactful community servant coach, Clifford Story. Listen, we call him King because we all went to school together. But joining us today is Coach Clifford Story. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. How you?
We good. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we get started, Kent, now you got to start looking nervous.
This is me.
We gonna leave that in there. Okay, he said he's not nervous, y'all. So we good. We good. But before we get started, what we generally do is we read the bios that our guests send to our producers. So we're gonna go ahead and do that and let the good people know a little bit about who you are, and then we're gonna get started.
Perfect.
Good?
Good.
All right, so Coach Clifford Story Jr. grew up in Lafayette, Alabama, where his passion for sports began with football, basketball, and baseball for the Lafayette Bulldogs, influenced early by his mentor, Coach Ike Grant. Coach Story excelled as a quarterback and linebacker, leading his team to the state semifinals and earning all-state honors. He attended Jacksonville State University from 1992 to 1996 on an athletic scholarship. Playing football and baseball at JSU, he transitioned to tight end and defensive end, thriving under coaches Bill Burgess and Rudy Abbott. Beginning his coaching career as an assistant at Weaver High School, Coach Story moved to the Atlanta metro area to become the defensive coordinator at Riverdale High School. In 2004, he returned to Alabama, joining Auburn High School staff and contributing to successful seasons. By 2009, Coach Story was ready to lead his own program, becoming the head football coach and athletic director at Lanett High School. Under his leadership, Lanett won 7 state championships across various sports, with over 84 student athletes earning scholarships. With a record of 114 to 50 at Lanett, including 2 state football titles, Coach Story's impact is profound. He currently resides in Lanett with his wife, Chrissy, who is active in the athletic department as the head volleyball coach and supports the Panther, let me get it right because somebody gonna get mad, the Panther football team as Aquamom. Together, they have 5 children, Mallory, Kendra, Trey, Christian, and Caden. And they are proud grandparents to 4 grandchildren, Jaden, Parker, Caitlin, and Layla. Am I pronouncing that? Did I? Okay, I did good. Whew. I got y'all names right. That's all that matters in the whole interview. The Story family is deeply involved in the community, with Clifford also serving as a pastor of marriage ministry and contributing to local initiatives. Their shared commitment to sports and community service underscores the family's integral role in Lanett's success.
You got it.
That's a lot.
You did good.
Y'all, I told him before we sat on the sofa that he sent a thesis because his accolades and everything else, it's like about 30 pages, but we got it all in there. We got it all in there. Okay, Coach Story. We go for all intents and purposes. I'm not gonna call him Kent today. I'm gonna call him Coach Story. Coach Story. So you said you started out as a ball boy. I don't think that was in what I just read, but in the bio that he sent, that was a part of the bio. You said you started out as a ball boy. What did that look like? How did that all come about?
Well, actually, I used to go up to the field house. He was a guy worked for Coach Grant, and so he invited me to start coming to practice. So
Okay.
I started coming to practice, and then I just started getting involved, helping him out, moving stuff around, putting stuff where it's supposed to go. And so Coach Grant asked me, did I want to help? And I told him I did.
So ball boy at what age?
I was probably about 9 or 10 at that time.
Wow, that early.
Yeah, I was a 9 or 10 at that time because you know how it is when you're young, your parents don't let you go too many places. So, and we were just right up the road from where I lived at. So it was a lot easy for me to get on my bike Just right up there the road to football practice.
So they were fine because they knew you were with cousin.
Yeah, and they knew who Coach Grant were and what he represented, what he stood for. So that meant a lot also.
So how did those early experiences as a ball boy shape your mode of thinking and just like get that down in you that aside from being a guy, I think that comes natural for y'all, that's the thing, that's the go-to thing for y'all when y'all in school. I want to play some kind of sport.
Yeah.
But how did being a ball boy really kind of start shaping your thoughts about, I want to do this, I want to get involved in sports?
Well, I watched Coach Grant. He was real organized. He's OCD. He was very neat. He made sure stuff was in place, and he knew exactly where everything was placed and put at. And I would just watch him. He was real direct. He was strict, but the coach respected him. And he was just good at what he did. Like, he took pride in all of the small things that we think don't matter. Like, for example, with the grass, he made sure that it was cut perfect.
Wow. Every blade in place.
Every blade in place.
Yeah, I remember Coach Grant.
He lived on that field.
Right.
And so I would just watch him do those things, and then I would watch him with the football equipment, how he would place, how he would put it. He was real strategic and everything.
Meticulous.
Very.
So that played a part in how that affected your thinking about this is what I want to do.
It did.
It shaped you.
It just taught me that structure, that discipline, that organized, being real organized. Because one thing that he told me, he said, if you organize and you make sure that you know what's going on, he said, you won't have any issues. And so, but I didn't want to be a coach, honestly, growing up.
You did not want to be a coach?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
Let me transition into this next question then, because that's interesting. So reflecting on that, since we're talking about that. So on your journey playing sports, where did that transition come from? You just said you didn't want to be a coach. So where did the transition come from player to coach?
Actually, I want to be a physical therapist. I had went to Jacksonville, I got my degree, and I was going to move to Birmingham and work. At that time, it was called Health South.
Okay.
I was going to get my master's and start doing physical therapy work. And so during my internship in Anniston, it was this lady. She had been in a real bad accident.
Wow.
And so she was in a lot of pain. But I had to break the scar tissue up. And so as I began to put her through her physical therapy, she was crying like a baby.
Wow.
Like, she was really crying.
Wow.
And so as I was trying to get her to bend, every time I moved, she would just cry and say, please stop, please stop. It hurt. And I kept saying, you got to do it. And so I knew then that wasn't what I wanted to do. And so Coach Houston, he had gotten a job at Weaver High School. And he asked me, would I be interested in coaching? And the rest was history.
But you know what? That's interesting, that story, and how seeing that young lady and the type of pain that she was in, and how you had to focus on, as a physical therapist, and pushing her through the pain.
Right.
It's the same thing that you did as a coach.
Yeah, I
because you had to break. Your players were broken or undisciplined or came from places of being broken.
Right.
And then they got on that field or wherever, and they looking at Coach Story in this field, and they like, I can't. But you, however you motivated them, in so many words, you were saying, you got to do it. Right. You got to push through it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I just made them.
That's good.
I just made them believe. You know, as a coach, and people always ask me what the secret, how you got them to do that.
Exactly.
But the secret is, like, I just always made them feel like they can do anything. You know, no matter who we played, I make them feel like we can win. No matter what, in the weight room, just in the classroom, I always made them feel like no matter what's in their way, they can overcome it. But the only difference with that was, you know, this lady had a scar about this long down her back, and I'm trying to. So that was different with that part. But motivating kids, that just was my thing. Just my thing. I just couldn't make them believe and think they can do anything.
And you did.
We did.
Because when you got to, listen, I hold these cards up all the time. I have questions here, but when we get involved in the conversation, I start thinking about the conversation. When you got to Lanett, and we're going to back up, but when you got to Lanett, I think I recall that the football part of Lanett wasn't all that great. How did you, when you came in and got that head coaching position, what were your thoughts to reshape the program? Or what did you think the program looked like from your perspective?
Well, from my
Because
perspective,
I'm on the outside looking in.
right. From my perspective, growing up, everybody want to go to Lanett. Lanett was the school.
Or they wanted to date somebody from Lanett. I'm just
Correct.
talking about my husband because he's here, but whatever.
Correct. Yeah, that's true too. That's true too. But when I walked in, I knew it was a lot of work to be done. It wasn't up to.
So you knew that,
Yes, I did,
and you were up for the challenge.
I was. When I got the job, it was. I didn't interview to get the job. I interviewed just to go through the process because I knew eventually I wanted to be a head coach.
Mhm.
God just elevated me quicker than I thought.
Wow.
And so I went to interview and I told my wife I was going to interview for it, and she was in agreement. But I said I don't want the job. I said I just want to interview it and find out the kind of question they ask and things like that. So I interviewed, and then when I met with Mr. Isom, Coach Sykes, and Mr. Johnson, they told me that they had to interview like 6 more people.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
That's a huge pool.
Yes. I said, oh, okay. I think the interview a total of 8. I was like the second person.
Wow.
And so I interviewed, and I ain't think nothing else about it. Maybe like a week and a half later, I was getting ready to head to Auburn to work, and Mr. Johnson called me. And he was like, can you stop by here? Luckily, I had first block planning. I called Dr. Long, the principal at Auburn at that time. And I said, hey, Lanett called me. They want me to stop by. And when I walked in his office, he had a contract on the table.
My goodness.
And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. This not what I did. So,
because how long had you all been away from, because this area is home for y'all.
Right.
So how long had you all been away from home?
4 years.
4 years? And were you all thinking about, what did you even think that you really wanted to come back?
Well, I came back because of my wife. She really wanted to purchase the daycare right here on First Street.
Gotcha.
And she told me, she said, Miss Hurd want to sell the daycare and I want to buy it. And so I was like, okay, I said, I can get another job. And so everything just fell in place. Chuck Furlow, I had went to the Indianapolis Coast game. Chuck Furlow, who was the AD at Auburn High School, was at the game and up there at the National AD Conference. And so I sit right beside him. And we just started talking. And I was saying stuff about the difference between Michael Vick and Peyton Manning as a quarterback. And he said, are you a coach? I said, yes, sir. Then he gave me a card. He said, if you ever interested, well, let me back up. His wife gave me the card. And he said, if you ever interested in
aren't we always the ones that we always the ones that put everything together. We're always in, we're always the ones to put everything together.
Well, I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
Okay, thank you.
So
we keep everything moving. Okay, go ahead.
And we went on down and interviewed and
wow, and the rest is history. Yeah. I love it. And saying that, okay, so when you stepped out, we're gonna save that question. You've coached players who've gone on to play college football, including your sons. What's your proudest achievement as a dad? First of all, to your boys, and your proudest achievement as you've mentored young athletes, and also as you've counseled, because you're all of that. When you're a coach, you're not only coach. Sometimes you're daddy to other sons, and you're also counselor to these boys and even some young ladies. So give me an example of one of your proudest moments.
Well,
I'm sure there are many.
Yeah, I have a few, but with my boys, when we would sit down at the kitchen table, I asked, I said, well, how good do you want to be? And they would tell me, and I said, well, we're going to push you to that. I said, if you tell me you want to be that good, then we're going to push you to be that good. And so for them to set their goals and being able to achieve them, that means more than anything, because as a parent, as well as Smithfield School is these days, so we was fortunate enough to have all 3 of them to go to school.
That's a blessing.
Debt free.
Right.
And so when they was able to accomplish those things, I never forget, Trey had a real bad year his sophomore year. Mm-hmm. He was getting hammered by people. Mm-hmm. And so
I can attest to that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he was crying, he was all upset. And I said, man, don't get caught up in that social media stuff, man. We're not gonna worry about that. And I said, you want to be a quarterback? He was like, yes, sir. I said, well, we're gonna work. So we got him a trainer to start training and to make him become a better. So his junior, senior year, he blew it out of the water.
Wow.
And so same with Christian, he was in the 6th grade and he said, I'm gonna go to Alabama and play football.
And he meant that.
Yep.
Roll
So he did
Tide.
it. And Caden, Clemson ended up being his school. I took Triquez Bridges and Christian King came to Clemson on a visit. Caden went, the baby boy tag along. He gets up there, you know how he is, y'all and everything. And so come to find out, he started liking Clemson.
Wow.
So he said, I'm gonna go to Clemson.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, the way God moved and all this stuff, it's just amazing. Sometimes I sit back and reflect on how our life transition and how things happen. I be like, man, if
Nobody
anybody
forgot.
right, if anybody think it's not this not a God, I don't see how they can even think that way.
I live and breathe moving in God's timing. And we're gonna hold right there. I actually don't have my sponsors' little information in front of me, but we gotta pause for the cause and thank our sponsors, Alfreda and the Voices of Hope. Thank you so much. Couldn't do it without you. We'll be right back. And we're back, and we were just talking about God's timing and how all of this works with being a coach, a mentor, and a counselor. Before I go into another question, just give me a little bit more. Tell me how you've had to. Of course, it's just natural that you're going to be a mentor because regardless of whether you have direct contact with the kids, because you probably have had hundreds of kids that you dealt with, you're going to be a mentor because they're going to look up to you just by your doing.
Right.
But has there been a moment where you actually had to have, like, of course, one-on-one counseling moments that you could think about that still sit with you today?
Yeah, I've had a few. I had a kid on my team, by the name Juwan Howell. His mom was in a bad car accident. And he came to my office. He was crying, real upset.
Right.
He didn't know what direction to turn, what way to go. And mindful now, at that time, I had 43 kids on my team. 40 of them was in single parent homes.
Wow.
So that within itself,
That's the whole team.
it is. And so that's what the things that I would discuss with my coaches about. We can't just be coaches. We got to be their dads, we got to be their uncles, we got to be their mentors. We got to be able to teach them about life and really teach them the things that they need to be successful. And so Juwan, he came out, he was upset, and I just really had to pray before I speak to him in that manner because
That's good.
I've never dealt with that kind of situation.
Really?
It was a life or death situation. It was really bad.
In all your years of coaching, you've never that was the first time.
That was the first time.
Wow.
And so when he came in there and I just started to talk to him about it and we prayed. And then, I told him, I said, go enjoy your family. He said, no, coach. He said, I want to stay here. He said, me going there would just have me, that's all I want to think about.
Right.
He said, I want to be here with you guys. And that spoke volume. He never missed a practice. He never missed a game. He just always was that kid that did everything he needed to do and was supposed to do. And he believed in his mom and he wanted to make his mom happy. And everything that he set out to do, he was able to do it. He got 3 degrees in like 4 years.
My goodness.
And when he graduated his last time at Alabama State, he went to his mom, grade site. He said, Mom, I did it. He had pictures of it.
Wow.
I mean, all of those things.
So she didn't make it, but he still pushed through, and that was probably.
She got 2 of them. I think she made 2 of them. That last his master's degree she passed.
Wow.
She could get that second master.
And that probably pushed him even more.
It did.
And you said something. You said you told your coaching staff that you have to be more than just a coach. I'm sure that you've seen those type of coaches that are just coaches.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you feel like that? How did that impact their teams or the way those players played? If you could.
It did because it makes you want to play for them. It makes you want to run through a wall for you. Because when you instill in them in these kids, and what I realize about coaching, they want that discipline. They want that structure.
They do.
But we always think that they don't because we take things outside of the school and judge them on that or base their lifestyle.
Don't we do that?
Yes.
We judge so easily.
Yeah.
And so harshly.
Yeah.
And our kids don't need that.
Right. No.
They might be out there doing this, that, and the other, but they need somebody to say, I know that there is good in you.
Yes. Yes, no doubt. I always used to tell my coach that he can't do that. I said, but it's something he can do.
Right.
You know, he might not can play quarterback. He might not can play running back. He might not can do that. I said, but it's something in all of these positions we got that they can do.
And they just want somebody to believe in them.
That's it.
That's it. Next question. We could talk for an hour, but we are not gonna make this a two-parter. We're gonna get this in. Next question. So, in your opinion, what is the biggest misconception people have about coaching high school sports? What's a misconception?
You overthink it. People overthink coaching.
What does that mean?
That means that they think it's all about the X and O. They think about you got to get all these creative plays. You got to do all the creativity on offense or defense. And what I realized, if you just keep it so simple, the kids will play so much harder and so much faster because they don't have to do any thinking. We put too much on it.
Pressure.
Yes, and we want to look good for the people that don't
for
matter.
the outside. Now, do you feel like coaches overthink it because of the pressure? Like, oh, we got to put out these athletes that have these big dreams of going on to play college sports, and we got to put on for the city. Do you think the misconception comes from those places and the coaches thinking, man, I got to put out athletes that want to go beyond high school?
Yeah, but what they fail to realize is, yeah, you can put on and do that, but you putting too much on them. One thing I realized at coaching that the less you put on them, the better
they play.
Think about it.
Wow.
I mean, just think about it. Like, I was a simple guy. I didn't wasn't with all that creativity and doing all that stuff. I just believed in what I believed in, and I felt like the more that they learned this, right?
Coach the game.
Yes.
Yeah. I can remember seeing pictures of you out there that folks probably posted during football season. You down there, you just watching and doing what you do.
That's it.
It's not like you were, we won't name any names, but I can remember so many coaches that probably threw chairs and was hollering and yelling and screaming when we was in high school. That was not Coach Story.
You just got to know how to do it.
You knew how to finesse.
There you go.
He said, you got to know how to do it, y'all.
You got to know how to do it. I just could get them close enough to me to do that part.
You knew how to do it.
I know how to do it.
You was slick about it.
Right. Correct.
But they knew when you meant business.
Oh, no doubt.
I love it. Okay, so with 7 state championships, I mean, at one point, everybody was like, we know Lanett going. We know they going. So with 7 state championships under your belt, what was the secret? What transformed Lanett? What was the sauce?
Well, the sauce was a few things. Having a lot of support, which
The whole city.
Yeah.
Tri-City.
Yeah, a lot of support. And then being able to come home and not had to put up with time away from home.
That's good.
Yeah, that meant a lot. Because I mean, when Chris and I met, I told her what I wanted to do, and she supported me. So she knew it was going to take a lot.
That is good. So that goes to my next question: how did you juggle all of that? Because you just said, you didn't have to worry about home. Because honestly, Miss Chrissy was right there, y'all. She was Aqua Mom. She was all there. She was the team mama. She was everybody's everything. So that helped.
It helped a lot because once I got her involved and she began to see how much it took to be successful, she understood it better. And then especially when she became a coach.
That's good.
When she became a coach, she really understood it.
Sometimes, look, I'm gonna give y'all flowers right now. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, give us our flowers.
Sometimes we don't as wives because we get so focused and honed in to the things that we have to do because honestly we're the household managers. But sometimes being the household manager, managing the kid, we just think about we got to make sure the kids are this and the house is this and the bills are that. But we don't think about y'all have the same, y'all play just as heavy.
Right.
So that was genius if that's how you thought about it. Like, let me just bring her in so that she won't, feel some type of way about me being this deeply, because you already knew how deeply involved that it would take.
Right. Well, yeah, and and like once she became on that role, she started doing stuff for the kid, like we'll go get popsicles when it's hot at the practice, get watermelon, just with all get the ice cream truck there, give them all ice cream, just a lot of things that she got creative with doing. And then, also too is I didn't hire my coaches because of X's and O's. I hired them because they were good people. And because I knew that we can teach you the X's and O's. It is. But so I surrounded myself with guys that love kids, that want to be a part of something special, and want to if a kid that didn't have much, I wanted them to understand that we got to help them get it.
Right.
And so those are the kind of people that I surround myself with.
I love it. I think we have time for a couple of more questions. Yeah, just a couple more. So you had a remarkable coaching career at Lanett. Um, Give me one moment on the field that still to this day gives you chills every time you think about it. And you don't have to be non-biased if that's one of your kids.
No.
Let us know.
It's a few of them. Okay. It's a few of them. I'm gonna tell you the moment. Really, we were playing in the semifinals, and we had just lost to Fife. And Trey came to me. He said, "Dad, I'm sorry," and he hugged me because he threw an interception after I told him not to throw that pass.
Right.
And he came and he hugged me, and I said, "Son, that's just a learning experience." And Ken was walking up and he put his hand around Trey and he put his hand on my shoulder. He said, "Don't worry about it, Daddy. I'll get you a state championship next year."
Wow, and that's good. That gave me chills.
15-0 the next year and won a state championship. That moment right there meant so much to me because it lets me know that the bond that they have as brothers, and Ken was letting him know it's gonna be all right.
Right.
We're gonna get that one.
Right.
And so, when Trey walked off the field, we walked off the field together and I just talked to him. But he learned so much from that because to this day, he can just tell you the whole scenario, how it was broken down and mistakes he made. So he learned from them.
And two, the other part of that gave me chills is because in that moment you could have chosen, and I know you're not that type of person, but some people are. In that moment when he did what you didn't tell him to do, and he came to you and said, "I messed up," that could have went a whole different way.
Yes.
You could have been upset and just spilled out on him, and that could have changed his whole mindset in that moment.
It wasn't the time.
Right.
It wasn't the time. He was a senior. This was his last high school game. And because we've had moments throughout career with all of them that I have been on them.
Right.
And
That was
then
good though. Yeah. That you recognized in that moment.
I did.
Like this, no, I can't be that, that coach or that dad in this moment. He needs daddy.
I was just about to say that. He needed dad at that moment.
Right.
He didn't need Coach Story.
Oh, that's good. Oh my goodness. Any other moments one more moment that gave you chills that you could think about?
Yeah. We was in the state championship game. Chris had just got hurt and Quay had to come in and play quarterback. And so Quay was one of those kids that he was going to do whatever, you needed him to do. And so everybody was panicking and the coach was on the headset just going crazy. And I was like, calm down, we got it. I got it. Calm down, I got it. And so we said, Coach Siegel called the play and then he ran the counter with Jawan. The first play, Quay and that quarterback, we broke it, we went and scored. And then Coach was all in the headset screaming. I said, I got it. 2. And so we had been working on this play. And once we got that 2, it just changed the whole trajectory of the game. It went from we were down 15-0 to we made it right there at 15-8. And then it was over after that.
But they were in the headsets, just going.
Oh man, it was
bananas.
Everybody was screaming, hollering, fussing. I was like, calm down.
How do y'all even focus on the field when y'all are in each other's ears like that, especially when everybody is panicking and carrying on?
You just gotta know. You just gotta know. And that's the head coach. That's the leadership part of it. You gotta be able to say, hey, look, we good.
Yeah.
Because the assistant coaches, they gonna be like that. But that's why I take a special person on that side of the desk to be able to be the media.
Yeah.
You got to be able to say, look, we're not going to do this. This is what we're going to do.
I got you. I know we're talking about sports a lot. I don't want to leave that because that's just who you are. But we're going to step away from your football field to the overall I won't say just football, but basketball and everything. Hubby wanted me to ask this question, y'all. So with the whole name, likeness, and image rule in sports today, how do you feel like that has changed the game throughout the whole spectrum? What
They
you
have
think
changed the
about it?
game tremendously. Because first of all, everybody that used to dominate the sport will not dominate the sport again because of all of the money and all of the revenue that other schools have. They're able to bring in the people that they need versus sitting at a desk or on the recruiting prowl that person can
Hmm.
convince a kid to come to their school.
Hmm.
So, but now with the money, if I'm at a school, I'm making
That
50,000.
money talking.
Oh, no doubt. I've seen it. If I'm at a school making 50,000 and this kid finna get
That's a
250,000,
shame.
as a high school kid, what are you gonna do?
Right. Because you and in those moments, in those positions, a lot of these kids, like you said, most of them come from single parent homes. And I hate to say it that way, but when you're the person, you're the kid that everybody done has pumped up because of your natural ability, or you risen to this height in your grade school, high school career. So it's just automatically assumed that you're gonna be the person that bring everybody out.
Right.
So that's what you're gonna be thinking, because you feel like you got to take care of mama,
Yeah.
and you gon' you done made a promise to yourself, probably even to your mama. My mama take care of you. So this whole name, likeness, and image rule has pulled them in that direction.
It has, because think about it. When family know that you're able to do this, they got agents.
Pressure,
They got agents that,
yes.
that go and talk to the coaches for them and all those things. And then when
Oh, that has got to be.
oh, it's
That's
it's
that
ridiculous.
has to be stressful for everybody.
It
Even
is.
even the coach is like, oh, I got to deal with not only the player, but the agent,
The parents,
the
the
parents,
friends.
right?
Yeah. And if I'm a good
Sounds
player,
like you need a counselor. Y'all need therapy after y'all deal
you
with.
do. You do. You need a lot.
It's not funny, but that is.
It's a lot. It's a lot. The game have changed with it. And it's all about who can give me the most.
That is a lot of pressure on those kids.
It is. It is. I'm talking about you got a Mercedes and I'm driving a Honda Civic. So now I want a Mercedes. My stat just as good as his. So you gonna get me an NIL deal with Mercedes
And
Benz?
sometimes the pressure in all of that, it breaks them, right? They don't even achieve or get to where they're trying to go because they're looking at all of that.
Yeah.
What the next player or kid has, and the stress and the pressure of I gotta make it. And that, because I can't say any specific names, but I think we've all seen that, how the pressure has broken a kid.
It has. That's too much.
It
That's too
is
much. What happened to just hard work help get elevated where you
paying
need to be?
off. Mm-hmm. Wow. We are running out of time, but what we one question that we put on the end, and I should have coached you before. I should have coached the coach before this question, but since I'm like in the news industry, I want to put a little plug out there for the news. It's a lot going on in the news now. Everybody is focusing on a lot of everything that's going on around the world. What's one thing that's been going on in the news for you that you've been paying attention to, whether it's on social media or CNN, MSNBC? And some people say they don't even watch the news. So, but I feel like we got to know a little bit about what's happening out there that we've been paying attention to. And whatever you've been paying attention to, what are your opinions about it?
The biggest thing with me is the teenagers, the trouble that they're getting in. Um,
Stuff that we see on social media that they're getting
yes,
involved in.
yes, and in the news, shooting people, killing people, being involved in things that they don't have any business.
Yeah.
But when I started looking at that, and I started just looking at the difference between a parent and the age of their children, we are getting away from being a parent because we're thinking about, okay, for example, this kid is 16, the mama is 30.
Mhm.
So the mom wasn't able to enjoy herself and her childhood.
In her
So
teenager,
now
right.
that she able to just let them go now, that's what she's doing.
Because she still feels like she has
missed
a
out.
life to live.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's so true. And then, like you said, with the kids, it's so much. And sometimes I feel like it's like during this time of year, back to back accidents and
Yes.
shootings, and so you feel like they may be out here raising themselves a
I
little
do.
bit.
I really do. I really, really do.
What would you
Because
say to that?
I would say let's get back to parenting. We know how we was raised, and it was just certain things to this day. I don't care how old my children are. They know good and well I'm not gonna put up with it.
We ain't going
They
for
know
it.
how mom and dad gonna go about it, so they know not to even come at us with that. I think that we need. It's not too late to come back and regroup
It's not too late.
and you know start showing them that passion, that love, doing things with them outside of clubbing with them and partying with them. You know, sit them down with them, praying with them, get them involved in church. You know, and church don't necessarily have to be in a building all the time, but you
time.
need a covering.
A covering and a foundation.
Yes,
Love, prayer, church,
that's it.
all of
That's
that
it. And if you just give them that time, everything else gonna fall in
fall
place.
into place.
It don't require a whole lot anymore. And I'm gonna be honest with you, COVID taught me a whole lot about church.
COVID taught us a whole lot about a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
even coming back together as families.
Yes.
We spent so much time together. My family and I, we went fishing and
Yes.
planted
You made it
gardens.
work.
Exactly. So we need to get back to parenting.
Yeah. I mean, it's just simple as that.
And with that being said, you all, we have run out of time. I have so enjoyed this conversation with you. This has been amazing. You listen, y'all. I feel so special because let me tell you what he just did. He just got off a plane, went to see Duke play, y'all. He done ran down 85 to get to the sofa. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. And with that, we're wrapping up another time on the sofa with Coach Clifford Story, y'all. Kent to us. But thank y'all so much for joining us. We'll see y'all next time. And we cannot forget about our sponsors. Thank you, Alfreda and the Voices of Hope. Wouldn't be possible without you. See you next time.